Greetings, comrades. Hope this finds you well. Saw a clip on Twitter earlier. I think Compton J of RBN posted it, and it was a clip of Dr. Cornel West being interviewed by Jimmy Dore, the self-described jagoff comedian, which frankly really lived up to that name in this clip. They were discussing white supremacy, and Jimmy Dore was basically dismissing it and more or less saying that Cornel West should not be mentioning it, should not be talking about it, should only be focused on class, and bringing up white supremacy would not help his campaign at all. And obviously, Dr. West vehemently disagreed about that. He talked about his personal, lived experience being, a victim of white supremacy living in the United States. And Jimmy Dore, honestly, he got very worked up about this, which was very strange because he gave a very softball interview, at least from the clips I've seen, to RFK Jr., who was basically standing up, wait for the car to go by, who's now a huge apparent supporter of the apartheid state of Israel. But then he came at Dr. West with such anger and vitriol because Dr. West thinks white supremacy is something that needs to be talked about and addressed. And obviously Jimmy Dore is way off base on this, and Dr. West is coming about it from a correct position, as Lenin would say. A concrete analysis of the concrete conditions shows why, particularly in the context of the United States, why white supremacy is an issue that needs to be addressed, that needs to be highlighted, that needs to be a part of a radical revolutionary campaign or platform. So kudos to Dr. West for that. And again, the United States is a white supremacist settler colonial state. It was founded by the enslavement of Africans and the attempted, genocide of the indigenous populations here. If we're ever going to come to terms with that, it needs to be addressed. It can't just be swept under the rug to make people like Jimmy Dore and his stands feel comfortable. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. So yeah, again, it was just the juxtaposition, how he went at RFK with kid gloves, and then he had so much anger and vitriol towards Cornel West for Cornel West wanting to focus and talk about white supremacy, during his campaign while he's, attempting to become the Green Party nominee for president. So pretty interesting, but not frankly surprising. Again, Jimmy Dore has defended white supremacists in the past, like Kyle Rittenhouse, who again went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, with the intent of protecting property, and he murdered somebody in the process. That is inherently, protecting property over human life is inherently a white supremacist process and concept. So again, it's very much in the realm of Jimmy Dore to think white supremacy is not a big deal, not important. I mean, he's a very well-off white male in the United States, so it's not frankly surprising. But obviously, he has benefited from, white supremacy. And again, there is huge connections between race and class. Huge connections between race and class. Just look at basically all sectors of these different low-paying professions, they're predominantly held by people of color. If you look at who's harvesting and growing the food in the United States, it's largely migrant farm workers. Who's working in the slaughterhouses, it's largely migrant workers. Who's working in, home health care, largely migrant workers or people of color who are born here in the United States. Race and class are deeply, deeply entangled, and that is obviously something else Jimmy Dore does not understand. So Jimmy Dore obviously needs quite a bit of political education, but he doesn't really seem up for that. He has a lot of views, it seems like, that he are just deeply, deeply held by them, and no matter how much you maybe present him with evidence, he's not going to absorb that information because he doesn't have an open mind. And as Mao talked about, you need to be open to, you need to be able to give criticism and accept criticism, and that's not something that Jimmy Dore seems to be able to do very well, or if at all. So not surprising, but kudos to Cornel West for going on there and speaking his piece and having to deal with the self-described jagoff comedian that is Jimmy Dore. And again, if Jimmy Dore was actually wanting to be, educated on this, he would be asking Cornel West, could you maybe explain, a little bit more about the process of white supremacy and how race and class are connected in the United States? He didn't go about it that way at all. He just doubled down on his ignorant preconceived notions on race and class and white supremacy, which again he seems to do on any subject that he has strong opinions about and is not willing to take in any type of information. So peace, much love, hope this finds you well, all part of the people. Shout out to the Indie News Network.